Okay, so tonight we're looking at I Am That, Nisargadatta. And what we're going to read tonight is life is the supreme guru. And here's the questioner. We too come from far off countries. One of us is British, the other American. The world in which we were born is falling apart. And being young, this was written in 1973. And being young, we are concerned. The old people hope they will die their own death, but the young have no such hope. Some of us may refuse to kill, but none can refuse to be killed. Can we hope to set the world right within our lifetime? Nisargadatta, what makes you think that the world is going to perish? Questioner, the instruments of destruction have become unbelievably potent. Also, our very productivity has become destructive of nature and of our cultural and social values. Nisargadatta, you are talking of the present times. It has been so everywhere and always. But the distressing situation may be temporary and local. Once over, it will be forgotten. Questioner, the scale of the impending catastrophe is unbelievably big. We live in the midst of an explosion. Nisargadatta, each man suffers alone and dies alone. Numbers are irrelevant. There is as much death when 1 million die as when one perishes. Questioner, nature kills by the millions, but this does not frighten me. There may be tragedy or mystery in it, but no cruelty. What horrifies me is man-made suffering, destruction, and desolation. Nature is magnificent in its doings and undoings, but there is meanness and madness in the acts of man. Right. So it is not suffering and death that are your problem, but the meanness and madness at their root. Is not meanness also a form of madness? And is not madness the misuse of the mind? Humanity's problem lies in this misuse of the mind only. All the treasures of nature and spirit are open to man, who will use his mind rightly. Well, what is the right use of it? Fear and greed cause the misuse of the mind. The right use of mind is in the service of love, of life, of truth, of beauty. Easier said than done. Love of truth, of man, goodwill, what luxury. We need plenty of it to set the world right. But who will provide? You can spend an eternity looking elsewhere for truth and love, intelligence and goodwill, imploring God and man, all in vain. You must begin in yourself, with yourself. This is the inexorable law. You cannot change the image without changing the face. First, realize that your world is only a reflection of yourself, and stop finding fault with the reflection. Attend to yourself. Set yourself right mentally and emotionally. The physical will follow automatically. You talk so much of reforms, economic, social, political. Leave alone the reforms and mind the reformer. What kind of world can a man create who is stupid, greedy, and heartless? Well, if we have to wait for a change of heart, we shall have to wait indefinitely. Yours is a course of perfection, which is also a counsel of despair. When all are perfect, the world will be perfect. What useless truism. I did not say it. I only said you cannot change the world before changing yourself. I did not say before changing everybody. It is neither necessary nor possible to change others. But if you can change yourself, you will find that no other change is needed. To change the picture, you merely change the film. You do not attack the cinema screen. How can you be so sure of yourself? How do you know that what you say is true? It is not of myself that I am sure. I am sure of you. All you need is to stop searching outside what can be found only within. Set your vision right before you operate. You are suffering from acute misapprehension. Clarify your mind. Purify your heart. Sanctify your life. This is the quickest way to a change of your world. Oh, well, so many saints and mystics lived and died. They didn't change my world. How could they? Your world is not theirs, nor is theirs yours. Well, surely there's a factual world common to all. The world of things, of energy and matter. Even if there were such a common world of things and forces, it is not the world in which we live. Ours is a world of feelings and ideas, of attractions and repulsions, of scales of values, of motives and incentives, a mental world altogether. Biologically, we need very little. Our problems are of a different order. Problems created by desires and fears and wrong ideas can be solved only on the level of the mind. You must conquer your own mind, and for this, you must go beyond it. What does it mean to go beyond the mind? You have gone beyond the body, haven't you? You do not closely follow your digestion, your circulation, or elimination. These have become automatic. In the same way, the mind should work automatically without calling for attention. This will not happen unless the mind works faultlessly. We are most of our time mind and body conscious because they constantly call for help. Pain and suffering are only the body and the mind screaming for attention. To go beyond the body you must be healthy. To go beyond the mind, you must have your mind in perfect order. You cannot leave a mess behind and go beyond. The mess will bog you up. Pick up your rubbish seems to be the universal law, and a just law too. Am I permitted to ask you, how did you go beyond the mind? By the grace of my Guru. What shape his grace took? He told me what is true. What did he tell you? He told me I am the supreme reality. What did you do about it? I trusted him and remembered it. Is that all? Yes, I remembered him. I remembered what he said. You mean to say that that was enough? What more needs be done? It was quite a lot to remember the Guru and his words. My advice to you is even less difficult than this. Just remember yourself. I am is enough to heal your mind and take you beyond. Just have some trust. I don't mislead you. Why should I? Do I want anything from you? I wish you well. Such is my nature. Why should I mislead you? Common sense, too, will tell you that to fulfill a desire, you must keep your mind on it. If you want to know your true nature, you must have yourself in mind all the time until the secret of your being stands revealed. Why should self-remembrance bring one to self-realization? Because they are but two aspects of the same state. Self-remembrance is in the mind. Self-realization is beyond the mind. The image in the mirror is of the face beyond the mirror. Oh, fair enough. But what is the purpose? To help others, one must be beyond the need of help. All I want is to be happy. Be happy to make happy. Oh, well, let others take care of themselves. Sir, you are not separate. The happiness you cannot share is spurious. Only the shareable is truly desirable. Right, but do I need a guru? What you tell me is simple and convincing. I shall remember it. This does not make you my guru. It is not the worship of a person that is crucial, but the steadiness and depth of your devotion to the task. Life itself is the supreme guru. Be attentive to its lessons and obedient to its commands. When you personalize their source, you have an outer guru. When you take them from life directly, the guru is within. Remember, wonder, ponder, live with it, love it, grow into it, grow with it, make it your own. The word of your guru, outer or inner, put in all and you will get all. I was doing it. All my time I was giving to my guru and to what he told me. Well, I'm a writer by profession. Can you give me some advice to me specifically? Writing is both a talent and a skill. Grow in talent and develop in skill. Desire what is worth desiring and desire it well. Just like you pick your way in a crowd, passing between people, so find your way between events without missing your general direction. It's easy if you are earnest. So many times you mention the need of being earnest, but we are not men of single will. We are conjurees of desires and needs, instincts and promptings. They crawl over each other, sometimes one, sometimes another, dominating, but never for long. There are no needs, desires only. Well, yeah, but to eat, to drink, to shelter one's body, to live, the desire to live is the one fundamental desire. All else depends on it. We live because we must. We live because we crave sensory existence. Well, a thing so universal cannot be wrong. Not wrong, of course. In its own place and time, nothing is wrong. But when you are concerned with truth, with reality, you must question everything, your very life, by asserting the necessity of sensory and intellectual experience. You narrow down your inquiry to search for comfort. I seek happiness, not comfort. Beyond comfort of mind and body, what happiness do you know? Is there any other? Find out for yourself. Question every urge. Hold no desire legitimate. Empty of possession, physical and mental, free of all self-concern. Be open for discovery. But it is part of Indian spiritual tradition that mere living in the proximity of a saint or sage is conducive to liberation, and no other means are needed. Why don't you organize an ashram so that people could live near you? The moment I create an institution, I become its prisoner. As a matter of fact, I am available to all. Common roof and food will not make people more welcome. Living near does not mean breathing the same air. It means trusting and obeying, not letting the good intentions of the teacher go to waste. Have your guru always in your heart and remember his instructions. This is real abidance with the true. Physical proximity is least important. Make your entire life an expression of your faith and love for your teacher. This is real dwelling with the Guru. So psychologically, mentally, emotionally, we have not changed one iota, have we? For thousands of years. Killing, killing, killing. So he asks a good question here. What kind of world can a man create who is stupid, greedy, and heartless? And problems created by desires and fears and wrong ideas can be solved only on the level of the mind. Wrong ideas. How is it? Why is it that we are so addicted to beliefs and wrong ideas?
We've been brought up that way. It starts out with if you're not aware of conditioning and what it does, if you don't have some background in, at least I'm saying, you come into this world as an empty container, more or less. There's not much in your consciousness. Well, very, very little. But as you go through time, or whatever you want to call it, growing up, you start putting stuff into that consciousness, but it's not put into a clean atmosphere. It's not sterile. It's contaminated by your environment. And I say contaminated, that's maybe the wrong word, but it's skewed. It's prejudiced by your mommy and your daddy and all the people around you, where you live, how you live, so on and so forth. And that's the understanding that you more or less have to be present with. Otherwise, none of this stuff makes any sense. So you start from there, and then see that at some point, hopefully, that a lot of your elders didn't necessarily give you a good steer on stuff. And you grow up with a sense of a separation between the world around you and me. And you create this idea of me. You know, you can talk about, pardon?
And the conditioning goes unexamined.
Right. There's nothing in the culture of almost any society, relatively large society that I know of, that makes you aware that you're conditioned.
Right.
I don't have anything
What's that?
Please say again. I don't know.
Well,
So he says, clarify your mind, purify your heart, sanctify your life.
But to purify the mind, you have to have a good understanding of what that mind means. What is it? Where does it come from? What is it? And I think that's what's lacking in this, because it doesn't give clarity in a sense. I mean, you know, almost at birth, we start recording our senses in our brain in a form of memory. And that process forms your consciousness, starts to fill up your consciousness, so that you start using that to get ideas.
Mhm.
And that's where the ideas come from. And you know, these ideas, when they arise from past memory, which is never complete and sometimes very incomplete, and certainly conditioned. So that's part of the story.
I think it's interesting that he separates the mind and the heart. I don't know why he does that, but any thoughts about that?
Well, I think when he's talking about mind, it's the ego mind. It's the me. That's
and then
what, yeah.
what's the heart in that case?
Well, so if the mind is the ego mind and it's in time and space, I think he's pointing to the heart, which is in timelessness. Because there is no me. The me lives in thought. The heart, when you talk about heart, you're really talking about something which is beyond the me, something that's not touched by thought.
Maybe he's referring to present awareness, the heart.
Okay, good.
And I come to that by the mind is what messes things up. And you're trying to clear the mind. And when your mind, if you can, so on and so forth, then you're left. The only thing that's left is love.
Yes.
And that's timeless. It's endless.
Yes.
And it's singular. It's not plural. There is no opposite of love.
Correct.
So that you're in non-duality in a sense.
Yes.
You've achieved non-duality if you can get to that. I don't know if that helps or not.
Yes.
But doesn't he say something like clarify the mind or purify the mind, and what does he say about the heart and purify the heart, right?
Yeah, I think it's clarify
your mind,
and
purify your heart.
And it's
Right.
if you clarify your mind, the heart will be pure.
How could it not be? If there's hate in your heart, then that's the me. Right?
Right.
But-
So he's talking. So you're saying he's talking about one process. When you clarify your mind, you will purify the heart.
Yes.
That's how I think.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And does he speak about empty?
Well, that's purifying the mind when you empty your mind.
Yes. Yes.
That's the purification. I think that's a purification process. I still think that, thoughts come from the mind, and we live in thoughts. I mean, nothing happens until you have a thought. So you
Right.
have a thought, and that when the thought comes from the past, comes from memory, and
Right.
that's part of the thing that has to be purified, because that's the thing that's contaminated. So if you can at some point realize that and see that realization, then something happens. I don't know what, hasn't happened to me, but the promise is, and I believe it, that something happens. There's something beyond the mind. And the only way you can find that out is to let go of the mind, let go of using it, let go of thinking. And that's an act of meditation in a sense. So if you can get to that state, then
Yeah. I always think about Meister Eckhart's essay on poverty. And poverty in his essay is the emptiness of the mind, of beliefs, of the thoughts, of the ideas. And one has to have an awareness of what passes through one's mind.
Yeah. It's interesting because the sentence before, clarify your mind, purify your heart, sanctify your life. The sentence before that is, you are suffering from acute misapprehension. And that's the conditioning we were talking about earlier, that leads to the misapprehension, the not seeing clearly. Clarify your vision before you operate. You are suffering from acute misapprehension.
Well, the misapprehension that we've so identified with the body and the mind.
And the mind.
And so we believe that's what we are. But he told us that his guru told him, no, you are the supreme reality. But, those are words. How does one touch that? When the mind is still, when the mind is empty, something else appears. But you can't make the mind empty. The best you can do is have an awareness that it's not empty. Have an awareness of what's floating through that mind.
I think the best thing for me is that I'm constantly aware that I'm having a thought. And as long as I have a thought, I'm not empty. And I think all of us have had, very brief experiences of being empty, of not having any thought, being in a situation where all of a sudden you become conscious of being in that situation. Well, where the hell were you before? And it's just a question of not thinking, being in a situation and not having any thought in your mind. Usually that comes with me, usually in nature some way. I'm by a scene or something, and so that's as close as I've gotten to this emptying and this this what Nisargadatta calls I am. I don't like the I am because I don't like to use the word I. To me, it's very difficult for me to disassociate I from ego, from me.
Yes.
So I
yes.
just assume not go there. But I understand what he's saying, I think.
Well, you can just tune into being present. You don't have to say I am. You don't have to say it. Just be it in the present, a sense of presence.
Yeah, and also I think when you said if you still the mind, something else appears. I think it's actually that something else is always here,
Ah,
but we're just kind of
right.
distracted by these activities of
Right.
mind.
Correct.
So we
correct,
don't, yeah.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because when you're in that state of no thought of sewing, you're still present. When your mind is blank and you're empty, let's say, you're still present.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing, that you can have these terrible word, but blackouts, if you will, but you don't go anyplace. You come back. You never left. But we don't bring any attention to that because we're more important. We're more interested in, the latest automobile or AI or the next vacation or some other gratification, because really we're pleasure creatures. We spend most of our life seeking pleasure, one way or another.
Mention
Right.
that, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
we're all,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Ugo.
so the pleasure keeps the me alive because that's what the me lives for. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting if you get into it, but like he says, Mr. Gadata says, and my buddy Christian Murdy says, you got to be serious about this stuff. You can't do this for 10 minutes a week or, once a month or I don't know how long, but you got to really want it. And this is why I love this Christian Murdy. He'd get these thousands of people in a tent and he'd kind of imply, if there's 3 or 4 people here that know what's going on and they're listening to me, I'm happy. I mean, because to a large extent, a lot of this non-duality, it's entertainment. It's a form of entertainment. And they're not really willing to read enough so you get enough information so you can work stuff out for yourself. And for me, it's a question of how much effort do I want to do? And I don't give it enough effort. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you guys. I'd be off someplace else, empty and happy.
Are you saying we're your second choice, Ugo?
Unfortunately. You're a chip off the old block.
I guess if I had a me, it would be hurt.
If I had, I'm sorry, Chip, what?
I guess if I had a me, it would be hurt.
Oh,
Well, good for you.
Hmm.
I think it's interesting also the other perspective, which is basically this idea that the me doesn't really exist,
Mhm.
which is what all these guys are always saying. And I think entertaining that what would you call that?
Entity?
That notion, entertaining that notion or that idea and viewing the world from that idea is kind of fun and interesting.
Lisa, I hope you had a great time in Europe. I've got some exciting news. We are officially standing 5 miles away, and we got your street sign mail the other day, and it looks amazing. We can't wait to hang it up. I'm gonna have to wait because we are gonna install it when we get the guitar.
Well,
box,
you see-
but it looks great.
I can't see.
Appreciate you supporting Long Island Carry.
Lisa's got a mute.
Okay, we did it.
It was muted. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought, anyway.
Okay,
And I
well,
also, oh,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead. I'm
ahead.
sorry.
go ahead,
No,
Chip.
no, Chip, go.
No, I also think, like in these crazy times like this, I was talking with a buddy of mine on Maui a while back, and he was just talking about all the, horrific stuff that was going on,
Yes,
and
yes.
certainly this situation in Israel, all this crazy stuff going on. But I think there's a real um, peaceful place that we can go to with this relinquishment of the egoic self. It just, I mean, my experience of the egoic self is it's just torture. It's just, if it's not one thing, it's another. It's never satisfied. It's never, and to make sense of the world, uh, in my mind, or in the way that I see it now, it can't be done through the egoic mind.
No,
There is no peace.
no.
There is no love. There's nothing that really has value to me at this point in the egoic mind. And because I can't make sense of the world with the stuff that's happening in Israel, and in these horrific situations, as one thing, and also just in terms of regular everyday life, it just doesn't, it never really is complete. It never really makes sense because we're never really at peace in the egoic mind. We're never really in love in the egoic mind. We're never really still. So I think, Ugo, when you're talking about the effort you have to put in, I think effort is one aspect, or one possible approach. But I think another approach, which is I'm I find myself using more and more, is just that discernment of
Mm,
what I just said. That
mhm,
really all this stuff, these desires, is it really what I would like in my life? Does the desire really what I like, or would I rather choose peace and
mm,
stillness and wholeness, that
mm.
kind of stuff. So I use that approach rather than the effort approach at this point. That's what I'm using. I'm not saying it's for better or for worse or whatever, but it's just a different way of uh, being, I guess, for me.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some space to hold down that where I can, I guess, take some solace,
Mhm.
and I'm having difficulty. I don't know. I was thinking of the Bhagavad Gita,
Mhm.
actually.
Mhm.
Which is a huge, talks about a battle, and I was thinking of the dialogue, which I don't remember in its entirety or anything like that. But there was a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna,
Mhm.
and essentially it was about fighting an egoless war,
Mhm.
and that it's not really, it's more about right action on some level
Mm.
than anything else, and overcoming the illusion that something that anything even exists at all. Relatives, family, right? Arjuna is all stressed out because he doesn't want to kill his loved ones, people that he loves, and family, and people he had relationships with.
Mhm.
And here's this holy entity, Krishna, that's telling him, "Hey, get over yourself." Right? Am I getting that right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's some solace to be found in that, or even any wisdom, at this stage of the game for me, you know, I have been trapped in sort of this matrix,
Mm,
uh, and struggling, you know, and I'm wise enough to know, and I'm old enough to know, I don't have the energy anymore. I give up.
mm,
I'm not going to wield the righteous sort of retribution and right the world. Um, but yet I struggle with, you know, my emotions. But then I feel like the only thing I can really do is not get mad at somebody that pisses me off,
mm,
you know,
mm.
and try to be kind. That's about the only real thing I can do,
Mhm.
which I think is what he's saying here. You know, is try to be kind, try to be loving, try to be forgiving, try to bring forgiveness instead of seeking forgiveness, try to, you know, bring love instead of needing love, those kind of things. Just
Mm,
try to be that in all
Mhm.
sincerity and honesty. And and like this song that Tracy Ullman, there's this one line that says, try to remember you defend an empty space,
mm,
you know? And I think there's solace in that, but it doesn't take away from me the pain of others
yes. Right,
Mhm.
right.
that I sense and feel.
That's
Mhm.
right.
You know, I can maybe get right with myself, but it's very difficult for me to get right with the suffering of others, you know, and I haven't reconciled that yet. And that's why I guess I was thinking about Krishna and Arjuna, that sort of dialogue they had. It just occurred to me. I mean, I haven't looked it up, I haven't reread it or anything, but I just had this vague recollection, you know, that was sort of what
Mhm.
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 Arjuna was wrestling with also, you know.
Was, yes, yeah.
So, you know, yeah, I'm not big on words, you know, but
Well, that was well said anyway.
well, thank you.
Yes, Jeff.
I'll quit
Well,
while
it
I'm.
seems to me like you're really taking on a hell of a lot, you know. I mean, I don't know how, I don't know how to say it, but you know, the suffering of the world, it's always been there. And I think that that's something that you are doing, and that's your ego is doing. I mean, nobody wants to see something suffer, but if you suffer because of somebody else suffer, that suffering is on you, and you can do something about it. And I think that's what Nisargadatta and some of these other characters are telling you about, uh, because in a sense, if you can let go of judgment, which judgment is part of the function of the ego, and that's where a lot of that, I mean, I'm talking a lot about myself, where a lot of my suffering comes in, a lot of my agitation and upset comes from, is in judging other people. That stupid son of a bitch. God damn, why doesn't that guy move? So on and so forth. And when I can let go of that, it's a relief. I don't have to carry that judgment.
Mhm.
And you know, that's part of it. And the other thing that I find is I'm constantly trying to change what is, trying to change
Ah,
the moment I'm in, and that doesn't work. But you know, I got to get good and heavy and get all steamed up at times until I can catch myself, till I can use that awareness to see that I'm getting all steamed up, and it's me that's doing the steaming.
Mhm.
That's the way it is. You know, the tire is flat. So shut up and change the damn thing. That's what you do, not sit there and bemoan the lousy guys who didn't take care of the road, or somebody else who had some nails in the back of his truck. And it had to be, now listen to this one, it had to be a Latino contractor that dropped those nails off his truck and gave me a flat tire. you go through all of that crap. And when I can catch it, and I usually I can let go of it, and it's very, very relieving.
When you can catch it, you're purifying the mind.
Yep. Yep.
We feel the suffering of others because we're not separate from others.
Yeah. Oh, I had a hell of a suffering during, what is it, Ken Burns, the Buffalo.
Yeah.
Mm,
I was shocked. I saw it twice, once in a coming event and once in the series. When that man was standing on top of that huge tower of bones of Buffalo. I mean, it was probably 60 or 70 feet high and had to be, I don't know. I mean, there must have been millions of I mean, you talk about mindlessness of man. This was just, I don't know, for money, sickness.
Yeah, another example of greed is
another example of stupid,
Greed.
greedy heartlessness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the most important thing at this level of reality is to see within ourselves, are we being stupid, greedy, and heartless?
well, that's a challenge that should give us something to focus on in the weeks to come. Right now, we've got to stop.
Evelyn and Paul, I want to thank you for choosing such a thoughtful reading this
Yeah.
evening.
Thank you.
Ira and I both really appreciated what you put into it and how much it resonated with both of us.
Was really beautiful.
Appreciate everything that you put out, and talk to you soon.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. All right,
Thank
have
you
a good
so
week,
much.
everyone.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Buonanotte tutti.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank-
Ciao.
Yeah.
yeah, good night. Thank you.